I am Reverend Elisha Christopher. Pronouns are they and them. My ancestors on my father's side come from Ireland and Scotland, and on my mother's side from Austria and Holland. Let's begin, as always, by taking a few breaths together. So if you will, exhale first, and take a deep breath in. And let go. Another deep breath. Let go. One more full deep breath in. And let go. So I'm going to begin this morning by reading you some words from our friend Ernest Holmes, founder of Science of Mind. In the Science of Mind textbook, he says, "It is written, before they call, I will answer. Cosmic creation is from idea to object. Correct practice, it does not know anything about the process. Process is involved, but not consciously. Correct practice should know that ultimate right action is now, today. If we say tomorrow is going to be, then according to the very law we are using, we hold the answer in a state of futurity, which can never become present. If a gardener holds their seeds in their hands and says, tomorrow I'm going to plant the seeds, their garden will never grow." Well, how many of you have some change you've been wanting to make for yourself in your life, that you've been wanting to work on, that you've been thinking about acting upon, that you've been saying you're going to work on at some point? Anybody have anything like that? A few of us might. You know, I may have a habit of being a lifelong perpetual procrastinator, which I'm working on, because if we keep putting off until tomorrow what we know needs to be done today, tomorrow will never come, right? And I think that so often we individuals tell the universe, I really think I'd love to have this relationship, or lose that weight, or get that job, or whatever it is that you think you need. And we sort of say it like, wouldn't that be nice? And the universe says, it sure would. Right? And we keep pushing off into the future the change that we know we need to make. You know, and one of my living heroes is Greta Thunberg, who is a young climate activist, young woman, teenager, who, you know, she woke up at some point and went, wait a minute, we're in the middle of a climate emergency, and all of the adults around me are acting like everything is fine? What's up with that? Right? That there's this deep state of urgency in front of us, and so many of us, so much of our society, so much of our world just wants to carry on with business as usual, which is the thing that's been perpetuating what's happening already. And that we know we need to make changes, and yet we want to wait until tomorrow. Right? And if you remember Reverend Tamara's talk a few weeks ago talking about soil and the predictions that in only 13 years we may be looking at great famine because we've washed all the topsoil off of our plains into the oceans, and there's not enough fertility to continue to grow food. We know that there's crisis happening with the bees and the die-off of species. What's going to happen as the dominoes fall? Right? I really sense and believe, and I know many of us do as well, that we are living in a deep age of urgency. That the change that needs to happen is up to us, and that it's actually in each one of our hands. You know, and the shift that we need to make as a society is massive. It's global. It probably involves, everything. Right? And the great thing about that is, that means pretty much I think we can start anywhere. If everything needs to change, then anything you change support that greater change, right? And the thing that I know is that when we pick one thing and dedicate our life to transforming it and watching it shift, it suddenly becomes a lot easier to believe that we could do it again in another area of our life, right? And so whatever that thing is, that whatever the change is that's been up for you to make, I want to invite you to ask yourself, what if, thanks Michael, what if today was day one? What if today was the day that you woke up and said, you know what, I'm making that shift today? I have a mentor and friend locally, Reverend Edward Collar, who some of you may know, who's been involved in this community. And we meet about once a month, and he was telling me a story a little while back about he used to smoke cigarettes for many, many years. And there was a long period of time where he said, you know, I might quit tomorrow. Maybe I'll quit down the road, or I'm going to quit, you know, da, da, da. And he said at some point, he was sitting on his porch, drinking a cup of coffee, having that morning cigarette, and said to himself, this is the last one, and never smoked a cigarette again. I know a lot of people who've had that journey with alcohol or with a relationship or something that's been happening in your life that you know needs to change, and you keep coming up against it. I'm going to make that change next time. I'll try it this time. Maybe I'll try it this way. Well, that didn't work. What if I try that? And what if we just claimed it now and said, today I make the change, whatever that is, right? Because I have this vision that, you know, the big change that we all need to make is like this great big boulder in front of the door we're trying to get through. And if any one of us is just trying to push it and make it change ourselves, we don't have the energy to do it. But when we come together and we each grab our piece, we each put our hand where we can place it and put our energy into it, suddenly that thing that seemed immovable, it was able to be moved because we moved it together. Right? And I do believe that that is the purpose of coming together in spiritual community, is to be around others who are committed to doing their work, so that as we move through our individual changes and the bigger changes that are happening around us, we have a support system. We recognize that there are other people here in it with us. And we need that support, don't we? Don't you? I do. You know, and I was thinking this morning that the task in front of all of us is to escape the insanity of complacency. You're welcome. It just came, I don't know. You know, but it was like we have to escape the insanity of complacency. You know, and I think that's the urgency that I see Greta Thunberg talking about, when she's like, there is an emergency in front of us, and everyone else is just walking along as if nothing's happening. And what would it look like if we tapped into that urgency? Because there's something about the urgency and necessity of the energy that surrounds us that I actually think is the fuel that we need for the changes that we need to make. Right? If we're comfortable, if we're complacent, if we're just willing to go along as normal, there's not a lot of oomph in that creative power. But if we sense that there's a nowness to what the changes that we need to make, that the future is dependent on the shifts we make today, if we recognize that we could make one step today that will begin a movement forward that will last us the rest of our life, if we're willing to step into the need and then see where our passions, where our gifts, where our talents, where our curiosities meet the need, that's where magic happens. Right? Recognize whatever it is that you see in your life or in the world that you feel is wrong or broken down or breaking apart or needs to be fixed or needs to be moved or needs to be picked up or needs to be dealt with or whatever. Whatever you see, I keep saying this, whatever you see in the world is yours to do. And when you can match what you see that needs to be fixed with the passions that you have and put them together, that is the recipe for change. Right? Howard Thurman says, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs is people who've come alive. Right? And so we need to to look into the world and not start from the place of what's wrong, but look to what activates you. Look to what wakes you up. Look to what shakes you up. And then allow that to be the invitation to walk through a door. Right? You know, sometimes I think that in our politics and in many of the solutions that keep coming at us from the world, one of the things I keep thinking as a metaphor that I see in the world right now is we're living in a house that's on fire, and we're talking about decorating and working on plumbing. Right? That if the house is on fire, working on the bits underneath or the decorative beautiful pieces or the this or the that is not what's important. It's getting everyone out of the house and putting out the fire. Right? And metaphorically, I think we're living through the world burning up around us in many different ways. You can look at the environment, you can look at politics, you can look at what's happening in Florida, you can look anywhere. And the stuff is hitting the fan. And we're the cleanup crew, y'all. You know? And when we back to that point of urgency, you know, when we look to the war that's happening in Ukraine, when we look to the pushback that's happening in states like Florida and other places in our country with a lot of the issues that are emerging, the people we might want to point a finger at are acting upon a deep sense of urgency. And I often feel like those of us who are trying to do the work for the good don't have that same fire underneath us. And what would it look like if we believed in peace as much as they believe in war? What would it look like if we believed in forward movement as much as they're trying to pull us back? What would it look like if we were willing to stand in what we believe is true and right and good and necessary as if the whole world depended on it? How would your life look different if you woke up every day and said, today is the day I'm going to make the change because it must happen and it has to start with me? How would your life be different? How would this community be different if we all truly came into this space with that energy beating in our hearts? What could we be capable of? What movement could we make? You know, it only takes one person to start a revolution. We've seen that happen many, many times. But it's someone who has to have a vision and an urgency and an expectancy that change is possible that calls the rest of us up to join them. So let us be the people who cultivate that sense of urgency in our own lives and recognize that we need to meditate like life depends on it. You know, we need to pray as if everything is at stake. We need to act as if we're the only ones who can make a difference. So let's try it. That's what we're here to do. We're working on it little by little, one thought at a time, one choice at a time, but we can make the choice that today is day one. So take a deep breath and let go. And so as we just breathe in these words, let us return to a place of remembering first and foremost that there is only one power, that there is only one consciousness, that there is only one life, that indeed the entirety of the living universe is only one. That everywhere, that every when, that everything is encapsulated in this idea that we call God. The one supreme intelligence that is living and breathing in everyone and everything, alive in every particle, spinning the galaxies and growing the trees, looking out through our eyes and choosing through our minds. We are the universe alive, each one of us. Let us act as if we are the living force where evolution is happening by choice. Let us be the choosing ones who bring a new vision, who bring a new possibility, who stand for truth. Let us remember who we are and remember the power and the potential that lives within each one of us. Let us tap into it in everything we do and live with a deep sense of urgency that the universe is waiting for us to step up, to make a choice, to participate. And let's not put it off until tomorrow any longer, because today is the day. And let us wake up every day and remember that now is the time. And so for all of this and so much more, I just speak a word of gratitude for the receptivity of these words in this room, for the shift that is taking place in each one of our minds and hearts and lives as a result. I give thanks for this community where we come together in the overlap of our consciousness and celebrate that there's something more here than we can see. And we are a people dedicated to possibility who invite that unseen reality to make itself known to us and to emerge through us in our choices, in our actions, in our intentions and interactions, in everything we do. Let us remember that there is indeed a power for good in this universe that is so much greater than we are. And when we open, when we're willing, when we're grounded, when we're in the truth, it can come through us. And each one of us can be the place where miracles happen, where change takes place, where something new emerges. And so as easily as we breathe, let us just surrender to this and let today be the day. And so it is.